Wouldn't it be great if you could play a whole new fighting game that you've never played before and experience it from the ground up, but you could still have the characters that you had grown up with? Well, that's exactly what Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance is. It's a reboot of the Mortal Kombat franchise after Mortal Kombat 4. Now, I'm not going to do a review of this game because you guys know how I feel about Mortal Kombat and you know what score I'm going to give it. But what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk about how I found out about this game, about its influences on me. I'm going to talk about the depth of the game itself and why it was so deep. And I'm also going to talk at length about the actual fighting engine of the game and maybe even go into some details that perhaps you didn't know about the game. So, hold on to your hats. This is Michael V's retrospective of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance.
It is time, young warrior, for you to begin your worldly training. I have taught you much, but through your travels, you will attain a greater perspective. Remember my words, for they will guide you to your destiny.
Mortal Kombat is one of the most influential fighting games in the genre, the most popular American fighting game, and has also been cited as one of the causes for the ESRB rating system here in America. All of its initial success was obviously due to its arcade titles. However, in 1997, Mortal Kombat bowed out of the arcade market with Mortal Kombat 4, and then we really didn't hear anything from Mortal Kombat for some time. Sadly enough, my first experience of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance wasn't on a home platform. It was actually on the Game Boy Advance. At the time, I didn't have any modern console except for the Game Boy Advance, and I spent hours and hours and hours playing this game, not even knowing what I was missing on the home console, but just loving the Game Boy Advance version, which, by the way, is very, very good. But when I got my first job at McAllister's Deli, one of the first things I did with my very first paycheck was I went out and bought a Nintendo GameCube and this game. And oh my god, was I ever just amazed by the game. The graphics were outstanding, the content was overwhelming, the character designs were so cool, and the gameplay was so different. Another way that they successfully made this game better for home consoles was with their Conquest Mode. Now, when I first heard about Conquest Mode, I thought it was going to be like a action-adventure game or something, but it wasn't. It was just essentially a tutorial for every single character. But the cool thing is, they turned each tutorial into a challenge. So you'd start off with the really easy combos, and you work your way up to the really, really hard combos, and then lots of times they throw in other challenges like having to spill so many pints of blood. But the really cool thing was in between each mission there was these huge paragraphs that would detail the story of the game. And by far, this game expanded the story of Mortal Kombat more than any other game has. Through Conquest, we get a lot of the holes that were left in the Mortal Kombat 1 through 4 storyline filled, and then a lot of things answered and expanded on afterwards. Now, the story of this game is that Quan Chi, one of the oldest sorcerers in existence, and Shang Tsung, one of the most dangerous, have teamed up. They have taken out Shao Kahn and killed Liu Kang, and they are after the world, and it is up to the remaining combatants to take care of the situation. There hasn't been a Mortal Kombat tournament in the storyline since Mortal Kombat 2, and this game's no different. The battles are far more like a war as far as the story is concerned. But what's important to me about the development of the story is we see a lot of interesting character development, we have a lot of interesting interactions, and see, up to this point, the Mortal Kombat story, even though it's always been amazing, the characters kind of run next to each other as far as the storyline is concerned, and there's not a whole lot of interacting. But in this one, you'll be reading Su Hao's storyline, and he'll come across the Special Forces in Sonya, and then when you read Sonya's storyline while you're doing her conquest, you'll come across that same moment. So there's actually a history in the game, and you can see where various characters cross each other's paths. The next thing that they did that really fleshed out the game was their coin system and the crypt. Essentially, you have a large set of coffins. If you were to put them in a grid, it would be A through Z by A through Z. So you picture how many coffins that would be, and that is what their crypt was. Throughout playing the game in Conquest, you would earn coins of various colors, and then you'd go into the crypt and you could use the coins earned to unlock content. Now, some of the content was really simple. For example, concept art. But then other of the content would be really cool, like alternate outfits. But what really amazed me about this game, and where I say that the content is overwhelming, was the amount of ridiculousness they put into the crypt just to reward you for your coins. For example, the famous video Cooking with Scorpion.
This week on Cooking with Scorpion, learn about chopping, tenderizing, chopping, cake decorating, and chopping.
It's a really funny video, and there's no reason for them to put it in there other than to make you laugh. There's also a whole bunch of little advertisements for various products. For instance, like a skin moisturizer that was advertised as Reptile's brand, and then Kano's cereal. Kano's cereal, I believe, was called Kano's. I mean, this is just ridiculous stuff. I mean, absolutely absurd. But that's what made the crypt so exciting, is that each time you opened a coffin, you'd have no idea what it was you were going to get. And sadly enough, this was the very first crypt there ever was, and throughout the entire history of Mortal Kombat, they've never been able to make a crypt as jam-packed filled with amazing content as this one. Then they also have these 3 bonus videos, 2 of which are documentaries and 1 of them is a music video. The music video is by Adema and they're singing the song Immortal, and the entire music video is themed after Mortal Kombat. Similarly, they also have the making of Mortal Kombat. This is a documentary where they take a 24-hour period in the making of Mortal Kombat and they basically show what it's like for just 1 day in the development of this game. Then there's a 3rd documentary, and it is the history of Mortal Kombat, in which they detail the history of Mortal Kombat from Mortal Kombat 1 all the way up to Deadly Alliance, and they kind of discuss some of their thoughts about how Deadly Alliance came to be what it is. They just throw it in. You don't have to unlock this, you don't have to put in a secret code. It is there from the moment you turn on your game, just to reward you for being an awesome Mortal Kombat fan. And all in all, this game is a celebration of the golden age of Mortal Kombat, and it looks back at it and references it and then builds on top of it and then creates this whole new series with Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Now that I've gone over the extra features and the crypt and the conquest mode, let me go into the actual fighting engine itself. What you gotta remember about this game is it's got cojones. See, Mortal Kombat 1 through 4 all had this exact same fighting engine, essentially, with high punch, low punch, high kick, low kick, block, and sometimes run. Any other fighting game in history, once they develop a fighting engine, they just stick with it and kind of tweak it, improve it, or make it worse. What's ballsy about this game is that because they understood they needed a deeper fighting engine, they completely threw away the old fighting engine and developed this new one. Each character in Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance has 3 fighting styles. They have 2 hand-to-hand styles and 1 weapon style. The hand-to-hand styles are all about dial-a combos. The best way for me to describe a dial-a combo is think about dialing a phone. I know some of you guys with cell phones, you've forgotten how to do that. It's okay, just stick with me. Think about dialing a phone. If someone has a 6-digit phone number, you just type it in. And eventually you get to the point where you don't even have to look at the pad, you just know how to dial their number. Well, that's how combos work in this game. There's pre-packaged combos for every character, and there's a lot of these pre-packaged combos, ranging from very simple, like 3 button presses, all the way up to very, very difficult, like 10 presses. The real tricky thing about Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, however, is that it has damage scaling. And that means with each attack that you do in a combo, it makes the attack that follows it do a little bit less damage than it normally would. For example, let's say that I had a punch, and that punch did 5% damage. So every single time I threw out that punch, that was 5% damage. But let's just say I threw out this punch first and then this punch. So that's my combo. So this punch hits, and because of damage scaling, instead of this punch doing 5%, it only does 3%. And then let's say I went 1, 2, 3 like this, now that punch that did 5% is down to 1%. So as a result, there are some occasions in which doing a 3-hit combo is actually strategically smarter than doing a 10-hit combo. But any issues you may have with damage scaling can also be adjusted if you can just learn how to keep your opponent against the wall. Walls in this game are highly underrated. I don't see people use them enough. If you have your opponent's back to a wall and you hit them in a way that makes them bump into the wall itself will always do 1% damage to whatever attack you do. So if you have a 6% combo and all 6 hits push the opponent back, and if their back is against the wall, that's 6 extra percent of damage added to your combo. Another really cool nuance of the fighting engine is the weapon styles. Every single character has weapons. Now, the weapons do a lot more damage, but it also means that you'll take more damage because your defense is weaker. For instance, you may notice that a combo that does 19% on somebody who is in a hand-to-hand style suddenly does 25% against someone who's holding a sword. This game takes advantage of the 3D in a way that if you press up on the D-pad, your character will step away from you in 3 dimensions and strife around in a circle, and then also down will make them strife the other way. So jumping is performed by holding up and forward, and crouching is performed by holding down and back. You can also do kind of like the reverse thing, but anyways. So as a result, it's strategically much smarter to try to strife around projectiles than it is to jump over them as it was in the old games. There's a lot of risk-reward as far as this game is concerned. Most characters in the game are open for a little bit right after someone blocks their full combo. However, if you take the risk of not blocking, but walking around the opponent and kind of like sidestepping the attack. Now this is dangerous because if you don't have your timing just right, you'll still get caught in the combo. But if you have just perfect timing, you'll be able to guarantee that counter hit and then go into a combo of your own, because they'll be busy doing their combo and you'll just step around them, they'll be open for the attack, you go in for the kill. The last thing I want to talk about this game is something that I find very fascinating. See, Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3 have all been online. Mortal Kombat Deception and Up have also all been online. Mortal Kombat 4 and Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance are the last and only Mortal Kombat games that have never been put online. What I find beautiful about this is if you find somebody who is really good at Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, it means they got that way by playing with people right next to them. Their intense skill in this game is a monument to the friendships they had when this game was popular. So I'm not going to give this game a review. I feel that I made it very clear how amazing Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance is. But what I will say, it is an amazing game that has an overwhelming amount of content, that has an awesome story if you're willing to read a little bit. It represents the creativity and ingenuity and ballsiness of Ed Boon's development team, and it also represents the very last Mortal Kombat game to have never been online. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little retrospective of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. So until next time, I'm Michael V, and this is me talking about amazing Mortal Kombat stuff.